In addition to agriculture and mining, humans also impact land and water through urbanization. Urbanization is the creation and growth of cities. Cities are referred to as urban areas, and suburban areas are adjacent to cities, such as neighborhoods that aren't in the city center. Urbanization is measured as the percentage of people in a country living in urban or suburban areas. Approximately 52% of the world's people live in urban areas. This is a picture of Dhaka, Bangladesh, which is one of the most populated cities in the world. The current population is 20,284,000 people. Notice how the buildings have several floors. Space is hard to find when so many people live in an area, so you build vertically. This graphic shows the most populous cities per time zone as of December 2018. This graphic shows urbanized areas and urban clusters in the United States. Urbanized areas have much larger populations than urban clusters. Notice where the most urbanized areas are in the U.S. and in Alabama. Urban sprawl is the expansion of cities into rural areas around city centers. This results in the formation of suburbs and neighborhoods. This picture shows neighborhoods encroaching on farmland. This graph shows trends in urbanization in various regions. The light blue bar represents percent urbanization in 1950. The medium blue bar represents percent urbanization in 2000. The black bar represents projected percent urbanization in 2030. For all regions, percent urbanization has increased significantly since 1950. Consequences of urban sprawl include loss of cropland, loss and fragmentation of forests, grasslands, wetlands, and wildlife habitats, increased use and pollution of water, increased runoff and flooding, increased energy use and waste, increased carbon dioxide emissions. Impacts of urbanization on the environment include decreased vegetation, which leads to less air pollution absorption by some plants, less oxygen production through photosynthesis, less shade leading to increased temperatures, and less area for wildlife habitats. It also leads to a greater need for water, which leads to the depletion of groundwater sources and saltwater intrusion due to aquifer depletion. This graph shows the Ogallala aquifer levels. And this diagram shows how salt water can intrude or get into aquifers if the fresh water is depleted. Other impacts of urbanization are more urban runoff due to impervious surfaces and increased carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere due to the burning of fossil fuels. This picture shows how evapotranspiration, runoff, and infiltration all change as areas become more urban. Ways to decrease the impacts of urbanization include use of mass transit systems, which reduces the number of individual cars, increasing water infiltration by replacing traditional pavement with permeable pavement, planting trees, and compact building design, which includes multi-story buildings and parking garages. Yet another way humans affect land and water is by deforestation. Forests are defined as land where at least 10% has been or is currently covered by trees and is not used for agriculture. Forests cover 1/3 of the United States. Forests can be classified as commercial or non-commercial depending on purpose. Commercial forests are used for timber for construction, fuel, and paper. Non-commercial forests are used as parks, wildlife refuges, and wilderness areas. The picture on the left is showing a commercial forest, and the one on the right shows a non-commercial forest. Forests can also be classified as old growth or secondary growth. Old growth forests have not been modified by humans or natural disasters in over 200 years. Secondary growth forests are formed from secondary succession, which means they form on old farmland or old abandoned home sites. Clearcutting forests is the practice of cutting down trees to clear land for planting crops and raising livestock. Advantages of clearcutting forests include providing more land to grow more crops and raising more animals, and it can provide more crops and animals which can be sold, increasing money. Disadvantages include soil erosion, increased soil and stream temperatures, and flooding. Clearcutting affects the atmosphere in several ways. Trees absorb pollutants and store carbon dioxide. So clearcutting reduces the number of trees, thereby increasing pollutants and CO2 in the atmosphere. Increased pollutants and CO2 in the atmosphere lead to global warming and climate change. This graph shows the relationship between forested areas and atmospheric CO2. As forested areas decrease, atmospheric CO2 levels increase. Sustainable forestry methods include ways to mitigate deforestation, protect forests from pathogens and insects, and reduce the occurrence of natural fires. A sustainable forestry cycle includes various stages: the new forest, thinning, stand management protection, harvest planning. Ways to mitigate deforestation include reforestation, using and buying wood harvested by sustainable forestry techniques, and reusing wood. Ways to protect forests from pathogens and insects include using integrated pest management techniques and removing affected trees. One way to reduce the occurrence of natural fires is to use the prescribed burn method. This is a method by which forests are set on fire under controlled conditions. The controlled fires are set on the surface, not in the crown of the trees. These fires burn brush and undergrowth, but not mature trees. This helps free up nutrients in the leaf litter and undergrowth. These burns release seeds from cones and stimulate germination. And finally, they help control destructive insects and tree diseases. These pictures show the results of prescribed burns. In June 2005, there are a lot of potential fuels for natural fires in the undergrowth. In January 2006, a prescribed burn is implemented. In August 2006, new growth is occurring. And by August 2013, the canopy base height has increased and younger trees are growing.